and where it comes from. I'm just a little concerned with the work plan that has been outlined to us. Does the staff have the capacity to actually carry out this work? I mean, you can have the money up there, but if you haven't got the staff and they haven't got the time to actually do that, what's the point?
I think, we'll be bringing to you at the workshop next week, potentially, a bit of an indication of the overall work program for policy development, sort of what's currently scheduled, what's in the NPS implementation plan scheduled, and what's other stuff that's coming down the tracks in the future. So resourcing per se is an issue. In terms of how we would do it, we currently we would probably engage a consultant to assist us with that process, with that community engagement and the policy development writing for it. So that would be our response.
Can we get close to perhaps moving the...
Chair, I almost can't believe what I'm hearing here. This is a simple process that we put up. I just can't believe that we're going to go out and talk to our community about oil and gas. I thought that's what it was all about. And we voted to do it. Let's just get on and do it. And we're just going to... I'm really reluctant to take... I don't know if I agreed or not at the time, 200 grand out of the Parks and Reserves program. It's just... I think that's also essential for us, and I want to keep that budget intact. But I just can't see how the first stage of this process is going to cost more than 100 grand. I can't even see how it would cost 100 grand to get out and talk to our public and hold seminars, etc. I just think we've just got to get on with it.
Well, can I just make a comment? One of the points of submission was during the annual plan was around community engagement, and part of the sense that I got from the discussion that followed from the council was that we go out to consult on with preconceived or predetermined positions, and you indicated to us that you wanted to see a much more blank sheet approach, and that does cost. I mean, we spent $85,000 consulting on a statement of proposal where there was two options, invest or not. You could easily spend $100,000 doing halfway decent community engagement on a particular topic, but especially one that is going to be controversial, which this will be. So yes, I think that realistically, councillor, you will be able to, you will find that is how much it's ballpark it will cost.
I think we can deal with this actually by adopting the plan, and we'll vote accordingly. But probably we're going to end up. There was a hand up over here, Councillor Barker.
Just got to say this, Liz. I think sometimes we make things a little more complicated than what they are. Firstly, I put myself around as a consultant, so I can take the mickey out of my profession now. I think too often we rely on consultants rather than make things sensible for ourselves. And it's an excuse for not doing some stuff. So I think all the expertise and necessary to consult with our community is in here. I don't think we need to go and ask anybody. We're smart enough for that. The second thing is that I thought the model that the Hastings, dare I say it, the Hastings District Council had, they called a meeting, got some people together, had some discussions, worked amazingly well. From the start of the day to the end of the day, I saw people shift dramatically on the basis of information. They're informed and they felt engaged. For me, if we were to recreate that similar sort of process on this, no plans, whatever, invite people to have a discussion, get their input at the end of it, draw it together so we can then at the end get what people think, I think we would have engaged with our community, got a better feel for the issues where they were at, and it would be then a good springboard to move on from there. And what people want is they want the opportunity to turn up and talk to people who are about this and know that they are listening. Biggest part of it. And after that, we can then go and do some thinking and then come back and talk again.
Can we leave this issue? I think we get to adopting the annual plan, we can deal with it there. But are there any other questions around the annual plan before we do that? Because I'm happy to move it once we get there. But Councillor Pike.
Sorry, are you going to be moving the whole plan, or are you going to do it
as it is? There's a consideration here, which I'll chuck in as a option or part of the motion as a number 9, and that is that Council, through the Chief Executive and Chairman, immediately commence exploration of options to secure the Napier to Gisborne rail corridor with Kiwi Rail and Government and report back to Council. Now that doesn't include or exclude anything. We're talking a serious conversation with them around the uses of the corridor, not so much the uses, but certainly who will be in control of that, whether it's a lease or whatever. And I think I'm quite happy to include that actually as a number 9. But before we get, I'm happy to move if there's no further questions. Actually, yeah, sure. We'll chuck that up there. So it's the recommendations on page 24 through 25, and after 8 there is a 9 that says Council and through the Chief Executive and Chairman immediately commence exploration of options to secure the Napier to Gisborne rail corridor with Kiwi Rail and Government and report back to Council. You happy to second that, Councillor? Well, if I could speak to this, then I don't always move the annual plan, or don't move too many things at all. But we're in the third year of the LTP cycle, as it were, and I think we need to get on with a reasonably straightforward annual plan. There's not a lot of extra curly pieces to this, but secure in the knowledge that as we go forward there is a lot of opportunity for us as a new council to determine the future of this region through the LTP process, through a series of workshops and field trips, etc. And I think that's a critical component of where we are as a council and where we're going. So I'm happy to move along on this. I'm not comfortable with the funding thing, but I'm happy to let it sit there at the moment because at least we've made a provision. I'm not comfortable with it, but I'm going to accept it and live with it at this stage so we can move on. So, Seconder, do you wish to speak?
Well, I think that is the point, that we can treat that $200,000 as a provisional allocation, because you're not going to go out and start spending it next month. There's going to be, the council will need to be presented with a strategy plan before it commits any of that money. Would that be correct? Yeah. So it's there provisionally, and it means that we can get on and get the job done. The last one, that addition, is simply to save a month and to get things cracking and to put a little bit of a line in the sand with potential claimants stacking up for that bit of land and hardware.
Okay, any other speakers? Councillor Balfour.
So I'll support that. And I mean, I have seen this commitment that, as it stands, as basically as a startup money to bridge us from here to a long-term planning process where we apply the resources now to as well define what kind of path forward we need to take, both with respect to consultation and plan change, and can have that discussion very intelligently when we're looking at this next April, May in a long-term planning context, which is clearly going to take more than the next 12 months to sort out this issue. So as long as we're moving forward and have some provision for it, I'm happy.
Councillor Pope.
Yes, I'll support it. Given that particular issue with regards to the funding is provisional, I certainly want to see exactly what we're aiming to get out of that consultation. I just don't want to see a public meeting. There has to be a heck of a lot more than just a public meeting and an airing of views on both sides. So I want to know that what we are going to get for whatever we have set aside is going to be worthwhile. But apart from that, no, I think everything else is fine, and I'd support the recommendation.
Other speakers. Councillor Bevan.
Yes, just briefly, Chair. When the draft annual plan was put in front of us, there was quite a bit of discussion about the rate increase of 5.8%. I supported it at that time on the basis that the public of Hawke's Bay, if they objected to the 5.8, had the opportunity to do so. I can't recall if it was raised in any submission, whatever. When you look at the numbers, the effect of the 5.8 is reasonably minimal. I think it works out to be a $9 or $10 per household increase. As a principle, I'm not comfortable with the 5.8, but I will support the motion too.
Thank you. Councillor Scott.
Mr Chairman, I'll support the motion. I am very disappointed to see the 10% of the money, the loan provision that is left, being whittled away in this way. We know that there are proposals to extend Pakawai Country Park. Well, we may have missed the boat with that by using the money elsewhere, because we still have to complete some of the other work done in the existing parks in order to get them to the point that the strategic plan that we adopted the other day is suggesting. So I thought that fund was set aside for a very specific purpose, and I fully supported its purpose. I do support obviously starting the process towards the necessary, which I believe is necessary, having read the Parliamentary Commissioners for the Environment Plan Change, but I also am aware that nothing is simple. And I look at the fact that we started the plan process for the coastal plan in 2002, and believe it or not, Mr Chairman, it is still not operative. And it's been years now since that was even past any appeal. And still, it's costing us money because we can't get it operative. So this isn't going to be an easy and straightforward. It is going to be polarising. It must be done thoroughly. It must be done properly. And I do flag the fact that it is most likely to spend quite some years being challenged. And that's the position of it. So in the long-term plan next year, certainly we are going to have to look at where we are with the policy development section, because we've got a lot of costly plan changes sitting ahead of us, and they're only getting more expensive, not less. So for the rest of it, I'm very happy, and I would also like to speak to the 5.8%. That was a variation on the long-term plan that reduced the rate the previous year. I was part of that council, therefore I'm part of that decision-making. Looking back on it, I'd say it was a bad decision. I hope we don't go down that path again. But this was bringing it back in line, and I guess looking into the future, we're going to have to look at what the cost of democracy is and allow for it properly.
Thank you. Other speakers? Councillor Barker.
I'm going to say that I'm opposed to this. Not just necessarily because it's 5.8, it's a big increase. My impression of the process that we've been through is I have not seen enough work done on going over our current lines of expenditure, checking to see that we can reallocate, reprioritise, and do all sorts of other things. I've been aware that central government has gone on a slimming down exercise. I don't necessarily agree with slimming for the sake of slimming, but I can tell you there are a number of departments that have gone through a 3% and a 3% and a 3% reduction, and it's still operating quite well. I haven't seen that here yet. The second point I'd make to you is that I do feel a little bit, I feel strongly that this entity should have a finance committee to go through every line of expenditure line by line by line. And I know that it probably had one in the past and got rid of it because it wasn't appropriate, but that's the past. I do think it's worthwhile having a finance committee to go over each element of it, check, recheck and double check. But that's my view. Now, I'm convinced that the council is going to vote for the 5.8% increase. I don't say I'm going to vote against it just because I have the luxury of being able to do so. I'm going to vote against it because that's how I strongly feel on this matter.
Thank you. Other speakers? Further speakers? I'm happy to sum up. The 5.8% was a direct result of a capped increase last year based on a number of issues, one being a local body election probably had some influence over it. I voted against, but I support the decision once it was made, and that's local government, and that's how it works. But an increase for the sake of an increase is not where we were coming from at all. You can go back, and not that many years actually, where Ross Bramwell's time, I think it was, they actually voted to decrease the rates and give some money back, and came under a whole heap of flack for doing that particular piece of work. So it's not easy, these things. So you really have to base it on your service provision and your bang for bucks. And I think we provide a good service, very reasonably priced. So 5.8 or 80 cents a month, I think it works out to your average householder. You can flower it up whatever way you like. It is still an increase, and we don't take these decisions lightly. But we are back almost on track with our LTP prediction of 2 years ago, and we look forward to the next LTP, and I personally look forward to working through it with you all, and the challenges and the issues that we have to overcome when setting a 10-year budget every 3 years. Okay, so I'll put that motion. And all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Aye. Carried. Thank you.